really got a scope of. I watched Solar parts 1 and 2, and I really got an idea of who Prabhas was. And I mean, the movie star quality. You know, people will say this guy's a movie star, that guy's a movie star. This guy's a movie star. I mean,
Yes.
you feel it, and especially the context of this film. The moment he shows up, the movie got better. The second his character showed up, and I found him to be the most compelling force in the film. And so I was really excited just from seeing Solar, how different that character would be compared to what you were describing from that movie. I haven't seen either one to this. And the fact that he's not playing the same character, even though it's the same type of character, and bringing a different spin on it every time is, again, the definition of what a movie star is. And so not to say that he carried this film on his shoulders, but he was absolutely my favorite character in the movie, and being the most, you know, there are multiple tonal changes in this film throughout, up and down, back and forth. You get these epic and intense moments that are really keep you on the edge of your seat, and then you get these moments where you're sitting in your seat, you're cracking up because it's like, did they really just do that with him?
Right.
He is a part of those, right? But he owns them, and he kind of uplifts you, especially in the moments where you need it most, because this movie gets dark and it gets dreary at points. So he really brought that to the table, and I found him to be just spectacular in this film.
Yeah, I think movie stars, the term that I want to use too, because I think we make distinctions between like movie star and actor. So it's like, yeah, I would put him in that category. He's a movie star. Mm-hmm. He's a charismatic presence. Excuse me. He's magnetic. That's the kind of guy he is, and I appreciate him. I'm very excited to sit down and watch Solar eventually, by the way. And you should watch Bahubali as soon as you can, because it rules. But
awesome.
But yeah, so I agree. I think this might be the best ensemble of all of the Indian movies I've seen, though.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking RRR, Bahubali, Pathan, and Manjumel Boys. I think this is the best as far as the most well-rounded cast of characters for me personally.
Nice.
But not to spoil it, but it still might be on the lower end of the 5 that I've named. So there's just a little tease for what I think. What was your favorite location to be in, just out of curiosity?
Probably the complex. I mean, Shambhala was cool, don't get me wrong, but probably the complex, because, you know, and I guess we can go ahead and talk about this. Bhairava, and we won't get into full spoilers here, but he's really, really wanting to go to the complex. And at a point in the movie, he gets to go to the complex. And when they actually get, it almost feels like a fever dream, the way that they're portraying it. But when he actually starts to, you know, explore that, and they go on this adventure, and they're hiding from the security camera and all that, I found it to just be a really excellent location, a really cool place to find our characters, especially him feeling so out of place from everyone else. And I thought the visuals for this, again, you make that Elysium comparison, the big wheel in the sky, the visuals were just outstanding, man. It almost gave me like Lord of the Rings vibes when we would get these huge statues and these big, you know, like the big. Did you feel the same way?
I was literally about to make a Lord of the Rings comparison, but
yes!
I was gonna make it to Shambhala, but
okay.
So the character you're speaking to, by the way, Bhairava, that's Prabhas' character. He's a bounty hunter that collects bounties in Kashi, and he dreams of accruing enough money or units to go to the complex. So he has an opportunity to go. It's not a spoiler, really. It happens early on, but it's also just how the movie naturally takes us to the complex. So,
sure.
But Shambhala is probably my favorite personally, because I'm just like, we never see shit like this in American movies. Like it's always just like, whenever we go to another world, it's like an indoor set, or you go outside and you can tell you're on Earth. It's like, yeah, they're in Jordan, or they're, you know, it's like, not that that's necessarily bad, but to actually like have like a design of an entire civilization, essentially. I mean, that reminded me of like Lord of the Rings. And and I loved it. But also, just to speak to how fleshed out these worlds are. You know, we obviously start off in Kashi, everything's dried up. It's a sand place, it's Dune, it's Mad Max. When we get to, and I'm not kidding about this, like it sounds like I'm being silly, but there's a moment in the complex where Bhairava and Roxy are on a beach, and the way that it's filmed, I felt like it was the first time I had ever seen water. Like it like moved me. I couldn't believe it. And even like a few shots before that, and you can see this in the trailer. I was waiting to see how it factored into the story, but there's a big wide shot, establishing shot of them riding horses through this tree line on this big lush green hill. And even seeing that, I mean, it's like what Rey probably felt like in Force Awakens. But I am in Kentucky and I've only been in the desert for 45 minutes in a movie theater. But I don't know, there was something about, I was like, I cannot believe how affecting that was. So I think, again, you were just talking about how great the complex felt being there. I mean, yeah, I felt how dire the situation is, and I felt like that character in that moment. I thought that was really cool.
I also thought they did just talking about Prabhas's character, and you kind of have, they spent a lot of the movie making me think he was, and I don't want to dive into spoilers. They spent a lot of the movie making me think he was like the hero and the guy that we're rooting for, and then that's not necessarily the way it goes.
Yeah,
you don't often see that, because I felt so conflicted during the final act of the movie. Like, who am I rooting for here? Genuinely, who am I rooting for? Because, you know, his desire to get to the complex is so riveting. And like you said, when he's on the beach, you can feel what he feels. And I felt complete in that moment, watching his character feel complete. And so when we're almost required to kind of pick a side at the end, and both have good reason for you to pick a side, that was one of the most compelling parts of the movie for me, and something I did not expect at all. Ryan, how about you?
You're dancing around spoilers. Be careful. But what I will say, and I don't know if it's because I'm an idiot, but I went into the movie thinking that he was the Messiah character. Like I
did too.
The movie, and again, this isn't a spoiler, but the movie is about figuring out who the mother is. And I thought, just based on the trailers, and because Prabhas, I thought that, we were going to find out that he was all along. I didn't even consider this whole mother aspect, and that we were building up to this story. I thought we were going to dive right into it. And he's just a bounty hunter that's working. I mean, he's like a Han Solo. I mean, he's just a dude, boots on the ground. He's trying to work and make money, and he's a bit of a scoundrel, and he's after the chicks, and he just wants to make it to the complex. And I'm glad, again, because I was kind of worried, like, I've already seen Prabhas play this messianic warrior figure. Do I want to see him be a movie star? Yes, but I'm grateful and thankful that there was that dynamic in this movie.
Well, it's the Harrison Ford effect. I mean, you made the perfect comparison there, right? He comes, and there's even a legend about him too. He's never lost a fight, and that's the legend going in. And so the second you hear that, and then you see what he's doing, the moment and that music kicks in, and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to love this character. Throws a little humor in there. Like, oh, it's just perfection across the board, that introduction.
He's got a sidekick. He's got his Chewie. It's a robot named Bougie. He's got his Millennium Falcon and that car that they designed for the movie. So, yeah. And he's a bit of a sleaze, but charming. And you love him.
Very.
And you can't help but not look at him.